Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to another live this morning, and hope you're having a great start to your day. Have you had your vitamin C yet? You haven't? Now, guys, we appreciate you coming on with us. We always like to share live with you. Listen, we appreciate it. Nativity. Somebody else was first, but I didn't see him. Was that you, Brahim? Janice, I was talking. Rosa, Moriad. Brahim's right there. So, Mary, Norwich, good morning. Jackie, Belil, Anna, Hamner, and Lori from Niagara Falls. Nick from our staff, good morning. And Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Shelley, good morning. Yolande, bonjour. Fran, Orangeville. And Connie, Les Laurentides, beautiful. Wendy, Markham. Sandra, Aurelia, good morning. And I think that was Melika from Stouffville. Marlene, how are you? Newfoundland. Julie, good morning. Lori Lee from Ventura, California. Good morning, Lori. Cecilia, Vince. Nice to have you on. David. Francis. And Jerry from Nouveau Brunswick in Connecticut. Good morning, Veronica. Mike. Debbie. Rice Lake. And I'm missing these guys. Leela. Anyway, they're going up into the stratosphere up here, and I can't see them. Mary. Carrie. I think it was, who was it from Connecticut? Sheila. Good morning from Sudbury. Kitty. How are you from Kelowna? Cheryl. West Virginia. Wanda, good morning. And Wendy, how are you? Victoria. And Janice, good morning. Linda, Waterloo. Tish, Iprawash. Elizabeth, good morning. Elaine, nice to have you on. And yeah, we're praying for Maui there. That's a good idea, Brahim. Annette, good morning. I know I missed so many of you this morning. It's getting lost. My scroll. Cheryl, Kathy. Me. Hi, Kathy. Jane. And Carol, good morning. And Bonnie, good morning. We appreciate you guys coming on. There's Kevin. I know I missed you, Kev. Donna, Carol, Moncton, New Brunswick. Okay, guys, let's get going. Norma and Derek, how are you? We appreciate you guys. Vashti, Windsor, Rosalinda. I know, it moves so fast. Sonia. Okay, now, I'm calling this Connecting the Dots. Connecting the Dots. Now, I know a lot of you have never met Dr. McEwen at the University of Tennessee, but her and I are putting our minds together, and we're looking at writing a book on mental health. And anyway, she's very smart, so I refer to her a lot when it comes to mental health. But guys, look, one of the things that I like to do in the way I operate, the way I think, and that's what I appreciate with our friend to this program and a friend to Martin Clinic, Dr. McEwen, is we like connecting the dots. So when we see something, like, for example, depression and, mental health in general, But depression, let's just talk about depression for a minute. What in the heck is going on? Why is it today we see so much more depression? Not that depression, you can read about depression in the Bible if you want. I mean it. David, King David, when you read his Psalms, I mean, he went through some pretty dark times. Okay? So, depression has been around as long as we've been around. But why is it's like on steroids today? It's gone up so much. And there's social factors to that for sure. Okay? And, the world today is different. And I think we all, especially someone, if you're in around my age, with, the advancements like in technology and social media, who would have ever thought? But, there's a price to be paid for the complexity of our society. There's a huge price to be paid, okay? But when I talk about connecting the dots, I'm a guy that looks at, okay, what's happened? And of course, when it comes to our mental health, what has happened? Why? And then I'm mostly, the way I think is, how does your body operate? Why is it that has changed? Now, okay, let's connect the dots a little bit this morning when we talk about mental health. Let's connect some dots, okay? Now, just being a woman, and I know there's blurry lines today. Oh. There's things are blurry, okay? Just because I never thought in my lifetime I would ever have to discuss gender. Okay? For the sake of this program, there's only two. Okay? The barnyard gets it right. But we confuse things, and anyway, I don't want to upset anybody. Okay, but all I got to say is, if you're a woman, okay, if you're a woman, this is a fact. Just being a woman doubles the risk of depression. Just being a woman. And why? Why would that be? I think women are much healthier than men overall. They are. They take care of themselves. Men are dense. Men are, they don't get it. They're hard-headed. And that won't surprise you, because if you've been following this program for any length of time, I'm very hard on men because we're stubborn. We don't listen. I know we call, ones that don't listen Linda, but we should give it a male name, because ones that don't listen the most is my sex, men. They're stubborn. Women listen. They're much more reasonable. Okay? And I'm making a general statement, so don't get too upset with me, okay? I know there's exceptions. There's a lot of men that follow this program. I know that. Okay? And we appreciate you. But if you know me, I've been pretty consistent about that. But why would women have, twice as likely, just by being a woman. Why were they twice as likely to get depression? I'm going to tell you why. Primarily. It's called hormones. Women are complicated. Women need balance when it comes to hormones. And so often, and more often than ever in this day and age, women are out of balance hormonally. And it starts young. Today we live in a world dominated by estrogen. Dominated by estrogen, the womanly hormone. And it's unbalanced because of its lack of progesterone. I've been saying that since the cows came home. And it was like an epidemic in my office. I'm not kidding you guys. Young girls coming in to my office as early as 8 years old with estrogen coming out both their ears. Shouldn't be. Way too much estrogen. And that messes you up hormonally big time, ladies. Big time. And it has a severe effect, or it can, on mental health. Estrogen dominance, a lack of progesterone. Let me give you an example to show you that I'm right, okay? And you'll get this, okay? I'm going to go a little bit older here, but a woman, and only a woman, can have a baby, okay? Women have a baby, and often they leave all their progesterone in the placenta. What keeps the baby, what keeps the placenta healthy, the baby in that sac, and prevents miscarriages. The strength of the placenta depends on progesterone. So, woman has baby, no more progesterone. All of it is in that placenta. Well, that's all right, because your ovaries start producing progesterone, and you get your progesterone back, in a short period of time, or supposed to be a short period of time, and mommy's good. Except when that progesterone doesn't come back the way it should. And then you get postpartum blues. You know how many times I saw that? Do you know how frequent that is? Postpartum depression. Why? Hormones. Too much estrogen, not enough progesterone. Like I tell ladies and some men, you're too much of a woman. And some men, we know that men, after the age of 50, got more estrogen than their wives, so often. And a man with too much estrogen don't have much testosterone. Let me tell you that. But when it comes to mental health, there is a classic example. Postpartum. Okay? Classic. Hormones. Connecting the dots. And today, because we live in an estrogen-dominated world, we live in a world that's dominated by estrogen today, compared to progesterone, pro-babies. Okay? So there, let's connect the dots. One, hormones. Well, I haven't given you the whole story because there's another hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is the stress hormone. Okay? It's your friend, ladies. The stress hormone, cortisol, is your friend until it becomes your enemy. Because it's not meant to be secreted for a long period of time. And cortisol, one of the things that it does, it robs progesterone. See the problem as we connect the dots? Cortisol robs progesterone. Cortisol decreases the conversion of T4 to T3 of your thyroid. Ladies, the thyroid has a big job to do when it comes to mental health. If your metabolism is slowing to a crawl, hormones. Remember, I used to test these things. I used to see it like it was no tomorrow in my office. And my practice changed. 20, 25 years. Huge change. A huge paradigm shift in my practice. Two hormones. Cortisol. You almost couldn't get over it. It was something that, not that I didn't know about, of course I did. I wrote a book on, in the late 80s on chronic fatigue syndrome. And I talked about cortisol. I talked about the adrenal glands. So it wasn't because I wasn't aware of it, but now it was coming at me left, right, and center. Women, they were dropping like flies because of cortisol messing them up, messing up their progesterone, messing up their thyroid. And I developed a system which I called the metabolic storm. And I used to tell my lady patients, you're in a metabolic storm. And sometimes that storm was a category 5. And they were so unwell. And they were depressed. Well, gee, let me tell you something just about me. I'm a big baby. Well, I'm spoiled. My wife said to me, how can you come from a family of 11 kids and be so spoiled? I guess I was spoiled, you know, but, and thank God, I feel good, okay? 99% of the time, I feel very good. I got lots of energy. I feel good, you know, by the grace of God. Look, you know, there's no guarantees in life. but I feel good. But I was very sympathetic for someone that didn't. Very sympathetic. And that's why I wrote the book on chronic fatigue syndrome. Women that were so messed up hormonally. And nobody just about could ever tell them why. And you know, you're depressed. Take some pills. Okay. Doc, why am I depressed? And why do these pills, they sedate me, but they don't do much else? They're not fixing the problem. But you got to look at the body holistically. You got to connect the dots. And mental health, sure, there's relationships, there's family dynamics. Usually in depression, it's a perfect storm. But if you look at the physiology of it, if you look at the etiology, why? Why is someone that's got, some real emotional and, family dynamics or whatever, and they're not depressed, and then you get severe anxiety and depression in others? Well, usually it's because there's an underlying condition, and this becomes a perfect storm. Too much estrogen, not enough progesterone, cortisol is through the roof. That slows the thyroid to a crawl. Leaky gut, leaky brain. Have underlying conditions. I used to test for that. I used to see it all the time. And almost invariably, I rarely ever saw an exception to this either. Insulin resistance. Of course, they don't feel good. And then they choose the wrong fuel. Because it gives them a little spark. It doesn't last long. But they choose crappy carbs, and they're carboholics, and they don't feel well, and they choose the wrong fuel, and their brain needs another fuel, but they're choosing the wrong one, and then they got the can't help it. And of course, they've been lied to about nutrition right from the get-go. Well, your brain needs carbohydrates. Yeah. If you don't have sugar, you're not gonna do well, honey. And we have a whole generation or two or three that bought the lie of fat makes you fat. So they don't eat fat. And your body needs fat to operate properly. And it needs to be saturated. Okay? So when we connect the dots, we see that insulin is involved. And therefore, food is a big, big, big factor. And I was just reading some statistics here. Let me read you a couple of them. Okay, let me read a couple of these statistics. I might have brought them to you before. You know that we talked about schizophrenia and parasites? Okay? But let me give you another one on schizophrenia. if you're schizophrenic, okay, you know someone that is, they're 3 times more likely to become a diabetic. There's a connection there. If you have a major depression, you are 50 to almost 100% more likely to have a risk of heart attack. What's the connection with that? Bipolar, 53% more likely to have premature heart disease. Depression, early in life, doubles the risk of Alzheimer's. Why? Insulin. Insulin resistance. It's a major factor in mental health. The brain, the energy hog. So, guys, this is me, okay? And that's why when I talk about holistically looking at, if you look at young people today, of course, we live in a world that's different, right? And, you know, we're so inactive compared to the way we used to be. And I'm big on vitamin E. You guys know that. And exercise. And today, kids, they're set up for depression because they don't move like they used to. And we see these children with obesity and fatty liver. Imagine kids, a scourge in our society. But what happens in the liver doesn't stay in the liver. It's not Vegas. It has an effect. It has an effect on the brain. It has an effect on your mood. You got to connect the dots here. And I was big on testing. Probably more than anything else was insulin resistance. And today, if you send me your blood work and you got an A1C that's above 5.4, you're in doo-doo. Your brain's in deep doo-doo. But nobody talks about it because they separate mental health from physical. You know, it's mental health is you know, what did they do with mental health? You know, Big Pharma comes in and they developed SSRIs. Remember, I was around when they came out in the 70s. And the FDA and Health Canada let them bring these things to the market with a severe warning on them. I remember it like it was yesterday. These are temporary. These are meant to be taken to get you through a crisis, not beyond. I'm telling you guys, I was there when they brought these out. I was in practice. And, you know, even back then I go, well, that's a Band-Aid. I know they're going after neurotransmitters and their serotonin uptake. I understand that. I understood what those medications were. But it was a Band-Aid. And really, sometimes I'm not saying that they couldn't get you through a crisis, but they never fixed the problem. And they were never meant, even today, they're not meant. I know people that have been on those for 30 years. They're very addictive. And, research has shown summer of 22 or summer of 21. 2020 was 2022, I think. Right around this time. In 2022. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? I can't remember now. That these huge studies where they finally had a look at bipolar, depression, and Alzheimer's. They did all these studies. They did studies to look at the studies. And remember that? I mean, we had more podcasts come out on mental health. Was it a year ago? They were looking for love in all the wrong places, were the conclusions of the studies. That SSRIs were not the answer. We have more depression than ever. That Alzheimer's, all the research and all the medications that came out to treat Alzheimer's, the premise was wrong. According to these studies looking at the studies, the premise was wrong in Alzheimer's. The protein thesis really of plaques in brain Alzheimer's, and then bipolar. They said, well, it's a blood sugar problem. It's an insulin problem. It was shocking. But that's been buried. Practitioners like myself, holy moly, they're finally getting it. They're getting it. And that ought to have turned psychiatry on its head. It hasn't. And it's hard to change things, isn't it? In society. In medicine, it's very hard to change things. Okay? So that's why I aim, guys, at you. I want you to connect the dots. I didn't even talk about deficiencies. I would see deficiencies too when I tested them, almost invariably in mental health. Low B12, low vitamin D, and often low oil. They needed an oil change. They were very low on good oil. The long chain fatty acids of oil. Remember, when someone calls you fathead, take it as a compliment. Okay? I like some of you are saying, I'm meathead. Yeah, I'm fathead. Okay, guys. You know what tomorrow is? It's question and answer Friday. Question and answer Friday. So get your questions in. It's not too late. I will try and answer all of those tomorrow, Lord willing. Okay. Have you got your book? Sun, Steak, and Steel? Thank you for making it number 1. We appreciate it. And continue to thank you for your continued support. We appreciate that big time. Appreciate our audience. I'm just reading on Facebook here. 86,600 and something, I believe, Facebook followers. That's incredible, guys. Getting close to 1.5 million downloads of the Doctors In podcast. Guys, that's you guys. That's you guys that do that. We appreciate that. Okay? And we love you coming on live too. Okay? We know a lot of people can't. But we love having you on live. I love my live audience too. You guys are wonderful. Okay? We appreciate you very much. Okay? Love you and talk to you soon.